Good morning. Today's Bible verse comes from the Gospel of John. And this is right after, I'm just going to read it. This is chapter 8. And Jesus returned to the Mount of Olives. But early the next morning, he was back again at the temple. A crowd soon gathered, and he sat down and taught them, and he was speaking, and the teachers of the religious law and the Pharisees brought a woman who had been caught in the act of adultery. They put her in front of the crowd. "Teacher," they said to Jesus, "this woman is caught in the act of adultery. The law of Moses says stone her. What do you say?" They were trying to trap him into saying something they could use against him, but Jesus stooped down, wrote in the dust with his finger. They kept demanding an answer, so he stood up again and said, "All right, but let the one who has never sinned throw the first stone." Then he stooped down again and wrote in the dust. And when the accusers heard this, they slipped away one by one, beginning with the oldest. Only Jesus was left in the middle of the crowd with the woman. Then Jesus stood up again and said to the woman, "Where are your accusers? Didn't even one of them condemn you?" "No, Lord," she said. And Jesus said, "Neither do I. Go and sin no more." Today I actually made a couple points that I want to talk about. I got 7 points here. Number 1, do not harden your hearts. I think of Pharaoh, where God hardened his heart. Don't let that be you. Pray for God to soften your heart. Pray for God to pierce your heart. Get past, sometimes like when you have a hardened heart, God has to pierce it. And then you can start peeling those layers back like an onion. Number 2, prune me. I've often said this prayer when I was in my lowest and lows. Like, prune me. I think of when I was growing up, we had rose bushes. And I remember one year, my dad pruned them back way low. Like, they didn't even look like they would ever, bloom again. But, if you know anything about roses. Number 3, love the Lord your God with all your hearts. Number 4, acknowledge God and lean not on your own understanding. Number 5, give thanks for all things and all kinds of trials of various kinds, and all trials of various kinds. Number 6, seek first his kingdom and his righteousness. And number 7, do not judge others. This is good stuff, and the Bible is like an anchor for your soul. And who am I to cast the first stone, and who am I to judge others? It's really like oftentimes the way that we respond to situations as a Christian, or at least the way that we are called to respond to situations as a Christian, is very contrary to the way the world works and the way the world reacts. And Jesus said, "Neither do I. Go and sin no more." And that's really it. Like, it's a message of love. It's a message of forgiveness. There's so much more that could be said, but it's really all I want to say is that pray that God puts love in your heart for the people around you, and don't take anything for granted. And this life is like, we're like blades of grass, and oftentimes our emotions and our feelings are like waves in the ocean, and you can't leave things to your own feelings, because people people react funny. They, the crimes of passion, and they say like, oh, you know, um, he wasn't thinking clearly, or something. But it's very different when, like if something's like premeditated or something like that. And it's funny how in today's society laws are set up, and they the severity of a crime is often based on intent. And God knows those who are his. And the Bible says his sheep know his voice. And let's just remember that Christ came to be a servant. He didn't come to judge the world. And he died not, if you read, what is it, John 3:17, sure 3:16, but he died not to condemn the world, but to save it. And hopefully today you find this, and you can give thanks to God for what you have in your life and who you have in your life, your people, your friends, your spouse, your children, and like I really hope that you do not harden your heart, that you pray for the Lord to prune you, that you love the Lord your God with all your heart, and you acknowledge him, and you lean not on your own understanding, but you give thanks for all things in all kinds of trials, and you seek first his kingdom, and that you don't judge others. I pray that God blesses you today, and I pray that you have an amazing day and an amazing weekend.